Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, this is from 1975, and this is Ralph L's Teenage Masseuse. Now, this is actually part of the Vinegar Syndrome Peakorama Big 3-unit show. Typically, these Peakorama sets are 2 movies. This one is a triple feature. It has 3 movies, all but done by the same director, Mr. Ralph L. This one was done in 1975. It's a 64-minute film, and this is the poster for it here. If you can get a good glimpse of that, in a way, it looks homemade. It looks like somebody just drew that poster, with a pen and with, different colored pencils or stencils, things like that. This is Teenage Masseuse. And here are some screenshots here. See if I can, from the back. And we have a variety of films on this one. So let's see what I can do here. Okay, I believe these 2 right here are from this film. So this is Teenage Masseuse, and this is on a big 3-unit show with my master, my love, and more. Paid about, I believe about $18 for this particular one. This one's about $18 here. And let's get into this film. 1975's Teenage Masseuse. The funny thing is that all 3 of these films are from the same year, 1975. I wrote some notes here, so you're going to see my eyes divert. Let's get into this very, very interesting X-rated film. Let's get into it, folks, by Mr. Ralph L. Now, it says in the back here, I do want to read this quickly. It says in the back, Vinegar Syndrome writes, Ralph L. was a jack of all trades in New York's low-budget sex film industry, writing, directing, producing, shooting, or editing dozens of low-budget oddities. Collected here are 3 of his most elusive directorial efforts. Tonight, Teenage Masseuse. Now, right off the bat here, this is a film that deals with a husband and a wife. And we have a familiar story of an unsatisfied wife. Not just sexually, but also emotionally, just a type of connection that they are not having. Their innermost dreams are not connecting with each other. And it seems like a similar story for even a lot of Hollywood films. But it's the way that the story develops and really moves and flows in this about 65 minutes that makes it a true oddity, a true adult film oddity, unknown. And this is a very, very rare unknown film, shot in 16 millimeter. So the sound is rough, but the film will definitely speak. Now, when we look at and basically, in the wife being not satisfied, her response to that, and what happens and how it envelops, relating to 42nd Street, New York, and maybe her own husband's secrets. This is Teenage Masseuse. When we look at the music for this film, it is extremely complex. I mean, extremely complex. We have dark, ethnic, mystical music with hand percussion, really starting off the film. And the beginning of the film is almost like a montage. It's like a montage at the beginning of the film where it is dominated by music and cutting a bunch of different scenes and different people and different kind of environments and scenarios, introducing our 2 main characters and the conflicting worlds that we're going to be a part of in this film. We also go to some funk, rock, sleazy music in here as well. And when I said dark, dark is definitely a theme in the sound design and in the music for this film. Definitely. The funk rock sleazy is truly, in your face and wild and rough and crazy, just like this film can be. We have a very interesting thing that happens at the beginning of this film that will tie to a twist in the storyline in the middle of the film and definitely at the end of the film. Very, very interesting thing that happens at the beginning of the film, and in the way that the storyline moves, you will meet a character in a dream, and you'll wonder, oh wow, is that why is that character why was that character in that person's dream, and what is this person, are they just reusing the actress, just for the sake of the low budget nature of this film, which is very low budget, or is there something else going on here in the storyline as this person, is dreaming of this woman, but then we see this woman later on in the film. Very, very interesting stuff going on there. And you will get the drift, definitely, that we are entering into a realm that flirts with S&M a bit here, with Ralph L's movie. And I believe some of the other films on this three feature set deal with S&M as well. So definitely something sexually that Ralph is doing in this film. We have very scary, psychedelic horror music in this movie as well. I kid you not. There is some very experimental, abrasive, oppressive worlds that would take home in maybe Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, or even, my gosh, I mean, just a nightmare. I mean, if you turned all the lights off in your house and you just played some of this music right here, I mean, it would. I mean, you'd want to run out of your house. I mean, there's some very oppressive soundscapes in this film. Some very bizarre things happening here, with an elephant statue and furniture. I could see Walerian Borocek kind of being pleased with some of this, and maybe even John Waters. This the lead character of the film, playing the wife, who I've never seen before, but she really reminds me of the blonde character in The Goonies, with the glasses and the short blonde hair, very, very short in The Goonies. She just reminds me of her a bit. She is really the lead of the film, and she is fascinating. Her presence is fascinating. Her face is fascinating. Her expressions, her sexual expressions, her dialogue, her emotional everything. There's just something very fascinating about this girl, and she has this masturbation sequence near the beginning of the film that really is part and parcel with frustration, with aggression, and also with a yearning and kind of a hole inside of her. And it is something that is really, really not just a physical hole, but also a connective hole that is not being satisfied by her husband. And there's voyeurism here that's very, very interesting. And the rooms and the locations look like sets. They almost look like sets that could be in an Erwin C. Dietrich film. Yes. And this very bizarre voyeuristic type scene with some male masturbation here and full body tattoos, which is really interesting. You don't typically see that, and some talk about the love of a fish tattoo, an actual fish and ocean. And I think there's a tattoo of Jesus Christ's face in the back of this guy's back. I mean, some really bizarre things going on. There's play with zooms in this film, definite play with zooms, and there's definitely just a power to this film. And I can't necessarily describe it, but there's a power. There's a power in the way the dialogue is. There's a power in the way that the sound design is, almost a surreal power, and a very, very edgy, low-budget, X-rated power to this film. Household drama is also a part of this film, and there's a rape scene in this movie that also kind of connects to the need for rape, and also its relations to S&M, which is part of this film. We have old-time rock and roll in this movie as well. We have some wonderful play with mirrors in this film, definitely. Starting off in the mirror and then backing up. and then getting to the reality of the shot. Yes, definite play with mirrors in here, and lots of fades to black in the editing of this movie, in the transitions. And those fades to black also are playing with the time scheme of the film as well. There's a quote here that I wanted to say. You cunts are all the same. You're just like my mother. What a quote. A very interesting thing about this is that for any of you who know about the adult film industry, the golden age of adult films in the 70s and 80s, you'll know that there were not a lot of black actors or actresses in these films. Not at all. This film right here, Teenage Masseuse, we have a lot of racial diversity in this film. Men and women. So very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. We have funk, as I mentioned, or just pure funk, not even in the rock genre. We also have acid jazz exploding into your eardrums as the chaos of the film envelops. A lot of the word bitch used towards women, really, I believe, kind of really reflecting in the S&M vibes of the film. We also, shockingly to me, had a lot of women eating males' butts. Yes, well, actually 2 times, but it was in graphic detail here. So definitely a shocker that you don't see a lot. This bizarre stuffed animal in this film, and the interplay with a stuffed animal, no, not even sexually, just interaction with this stuffed animal at a whorehouse, a prostitution ring. And yes, there's prostitution in this film. And there are some interesting environments and atmosphere of I believe it's 42nd Street in New York City. And you know, the grindhouse, adult red light district, girly shows, peep shows, the whole nine. Right there, you're right in the midst of it. And I gotta tell you, there is also a crazy twist ending to this film, with violence and S&M and sexuality and tons of screaming. We have the candles burning in the foreground in this one particular scene, done very, I mean, for such a low budget, grimy, edgy, X-rated film with crazy things, there's this beautiful shot that just envelops here with these candles. And there's this homemade end screen, the end sequence that is just as homemade as the poster art that I'm seeing in the front of this DVD. Teenage Masseuse, I mean, there's really not per se a teenage masseuse in a way, but we definitely have kind of a massage parlor of sorts in a prostitution house with a twist ending. And we have Annie Sprinkle in here, and you're going to recognize some other characters in here as well, especially the husband who's in Corruption, also released by Vinegar Syndrome, directed by the guy that did Last House on Dead End Street. This is Teenage Masseuse. This is a very, very interesting, wild 65 minutes. It's grimy, it's edgy, it's low budget, it's gritty, and there's definitely some strong S&M vibes in this film, and some shocking sequences in here, and definitely politically incorrect for our 2017 times, and beautifully diverse. Here it is, folks, Teenage Masseuse. This is 1975. Here it is, right there, folks. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like Teenage Masseuse. Thank you so much, and good night.